Chapter 5. The Fighting Begins. Saturday lives in my memory as a day of suspense. The morning air was hot and close. I had slept little and risen early. For a while I stood in the garden, listening. There was nothing stirring but a lark. The milkman came as usual. He told me that the Martians had been surrounded by troops during the night. "I hear there aren't to be killed," said the milkman, "if that can be avoided." I chatted with my neighbor. "It's a pity they're so unfriendly," he said. "I will be curious to know how they survive on another planet. We might learn a thing or two." The morning papers gave only a very inaccurate description of the killing of Vigilevy and the others. But there was a little news I did not know. The Martians had not shown themselves again. They seemed busy in their pit. The constant sound of hammering and a steady stream of smoke were noted. It seemed the Martians were getting ready for a struggle. "Fresh attempts have been made to signal the creatures, but without success," the report stated. The Martians weren't worried. They seemed to take as much notice of our advances as we would of the lowering of a cow. I must admit that all the soldiers in arms seemed to excite me. Something of my schoolboy dreams of battle and heroism came back. Again, I defeated the invaders in my imagination. At that time, it hardly seemed a fair fight. Surely the Martians were quite helpless, trapped in that pit of theirs. About 6 that evening, as I sat at tea with my wife, I heard gunshots from the common. Close on the heels of that sound came a crash, quite close to us. It shook the ground. Running to the lawn, I saw the treetops bursting into smoky red flame. Then I watched as the tower of our little church slid down into ruin. Next, I heard one of our chimneys crack. A jagged piece of clay came clattering down and broke into hundreds of small, sharp pieces. My wife and I were in shock. Then I realized that the crest of Maybury Hill must be within range of the Martian's heat ray. I led my wife toward the road. "We can't stay here," I said. My wife stared at me. "But where are we to go?" she cried out in terror. I remember her cousins in Leatherhead. "Leatherhead," I shouted. "Stay here." Then I ran to find a means of travel. Returning with a horse and cart, I loaded up our servant and a box of goods. I jumped into the driver's seat beside my wife and flicked the reins. In another moment, we were clear of the smoke.